Let's talk about projects. First of all, let me give you just a brief synopsis of last semester and some of the projects that were undertaken then. I had one student do a digital signage project. You've seen digital signage, specifying the hardware and the software, putting together some procedures, prototyping, and putting a complete digital signage solution together was one project last semester. Another project, an interesting one, was a person who is currently an educator wanted to introduce the use of iPads into the classrooms at his school. So he set about investigating needs, determining apps, putting together some policies and procedures that would allow his building and I believe the science instructors at his school to be able to integrate iPads into their educational environment. Excuse me. Another project that was undertaken last semester was a voice recognition system. This system was designed to take notes, perhaps from a class, and then provide students who maybe would have either a difficult time with language, perhaps a learning disability, or for whatever reason, the system would transcribe the notes and then speak them. So voice recognition for really anything, notes specifically. Another project was using a fingerprint scanning system to provide secure access to a particular door in a building. So investigating what was available, thinking about all different kinds of scenarios, and then setting up a system that would allow access, not with a keypad, not with a password, not with a lock, but with a fingerprint scanner. Another interesting project was a building automation project specifically for a we just did these not that long ago. You think I can remember? I believe these students did it for a local mosque that they wanted to turn on the lights at a specific time, turn on the air conditioning at a specific time, etc. So looking for a sort of like a home automation system, and then putting together some hardware and software to pull that out. We had projects last time in network configuration, server automation, automating a lot of different procedures like backup, for example. Another project was dealing with trying to uncover all the ins and outs of Active Directory, how to plan for an Active Directory system, how to integrate a new tree within Active Directory and documenting all of that. And another student actually created an app, an iPad app that was doing inventory for a particular organization. So you can see there's a wide range of things, and although many of these projects were of a similar genre, as we'll talk about in a little bit, you're not limited to anything like that. But I wanted to give you some background so you know the kinds of things that other students have done recently. Online at Angel, you'll find a list of some potential projects for this summer semester. Now, you're not limited to these, but let me give you some guidelines for the project. First of all, the project must have a real client other than you. And I don't want that other than you person to be your significant other or a good friend, etc. I want there to be an actual client. I can serve as the client and other people can, but somebody other than yourself needs to be able to come up with the requirements and then assess the project at the end. This is what I want done. Were you able to actually do that? So first of all, you need a real client. Secondly, this project shouldn't be something that you're already involved with, either personally or at work. Now, while we can connect a work issue to it, I don't want you to just take a project that you're currently involved with in your workplace and then call that this particular project. At the same time, I do want the project to be something that interests you. I couldn't imagine working on a master's level project if I didn't have some personal interest in it. But it has to solve a problem for somebody else. So you could be interested in the idea or the concept, but the project can't ultimately be for you. My general guideline for these projects is, when at all possible, I'd like them to benefit a nonprofit organization. You probably interact with nonprofit organizations, maybe church or a nonprofit school or a community center or in some other way. And if you don't, realize that Concordia University, Wisconsin is a nonprofit organization, and projects done for us would also fall into that category. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. As a matter of fact, nothing I've told you so far is hard and fast, and probably every rule has been broken. But there needs to be good reason, and you and I will have to communicate about that. So think about this in general. If you have an idea that you'd really like to investigate, talk to me about it, even if it doesn't seem to meet my guidelines. Excuse me. Let's talk about a couple different types of projects. You know, projects fall in a number of different genres. There is a very classical development type of project. This is where you would actually create something. Maybe create an app, use a programming language, and actually create an application package. Now, while we do this in the world of information technology, realize that that's really not our primary focus most of the time. But in the past, I've had people create both hardware and software, and actually both of those. And that could be a fine project. So the classical creation development types of projects. Another genre is where we apply technology. In the world of information technology, one of our big jobs is to take pre-existing things and apply them in a specific circumstance, situation, or problem. For example, I'm not going to ask you to create a database management system, but you might take a database management system and apply it in order to solve a problem. Same with a spreadsheet. I'm not going to ask you to create Microsoft Excel, but maybe you can apply a spreadsheet in a specific situation to solve a particular problem. Database management systems, lots of work to do. Same with spreadsheets. Even though you're not creating the DBMS, you got to think about the schema, think about the queries. And sometimes people say, well, creating the queries and creating the schema, isn't that creating development in a sense? Absolutely it is. There's a pretty fine line between some of these projects. Don't worry about it. I just want to give you some ideas. A third genre, the other major thing we do in IT is to manage. A pre-existing technological system doesn't usually run forever by itself. It needs to be managed. Documentation, tweaking, etc. Upgrading a server, for example, an organization that has some old technology but they want to upgrade it. That's a great IT type of project. And a fourth genre, this is not the last type, but a fourth one is what I call informational or procedural. That's where you would investigate some current situation or maybe some proposed or planned situation. And although you don't actually carry it to full completion, you document it. You provide a lot of background information. You know, let me back up. I shouldn't say you take it to completion. You absolutely do. But as an example, and one particular project that you'll see on the list this year, at CUW, I'm looking for a way to manage printing resources. I don't want students to go in the lab and print out 500 pages and just waste paper. I've identified a tool I'd like to use. It's called PaperCut, but I need somebody to put this all together. Investigate PaperCut. How does it interact with Active Directory? How can we configure and manage it, etc.? Although that's partly a managed thing, it's also an informational procedural type of project. So as you can see, projects run the gamut here. What I'm going to ask you to do in this first week is to think about a number of different projects. Think about some things that follow our guidelines here and will interest you, to be sure. More information online at Angel. There's lots of possibilities, so I want you to investigate wisely. Choose something that interests you. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at the course cast marked as either day 1 or week 1 from last spring. Lots of additional background information there, and I won't record that for you in the summer, but investigate that also. Again, you got questions? contact me. But this is week one. Let's get going.